This week at Interior. In March, President Trump called on Congress to send him a bill that fully and permanently funded the Land and Water Conservation Fund and restored our national parks, and that he would sign it into law. The Great American Outdoors Act, introduced by Colorado Senator Cory Gardner, passed the Senate with bipartisan support in June, and the House supported the measure without amendment this week. Secretary Bernhardt hailed the bill's passage, saying that this will be the single biggest conservation investment for generations to come. And President Trump accomplished what previous presidents have failed to do for decades, despite their lip service commitment to funding public land improvements. President Trump will sign the legislation in the near future. Secretary Bernhardt this week announced the designation of Charles Chuck Laudner as the Executive Director of the Interagency Task Force on Building and Rebuilding Monuments to American Heroes. The Secretary was tapped by President Trump to chair that task force earlier this month. The Secretary also sent out letters to every governor asking them to name potential locations for the National Garden of American Heroes, to name any statues to donate or loan, and submit any suggestions for heroes that should be honored. President Trump has announced the award of a $2 million grant to the National September 11th Memorial and Memorial Plaza in New York City. The funding through the National Park Service will provide critical support for the continued operation, maintenance, and security of the memorial and museum. Interior's Office of Insular Affairs continues to provide critical public health support in the Pacific as they announce the release of $2.5 million in CARES Act funding for the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. More than $55 million in funding across the insular areas will help to prepare for and fight the COVID-19 pandemic. A California couple is thanking 3 Bureau of Land Management Rangers for coming to their aid after a 4x4 mishap in the Inyo Mountains. BLM California Rangers James Watson, Jason Woods, and Brandon Brown came to the rescue after Janice and Press Meyer's vehicle took a bad roll after sliding off the road. The couple weren't seriously injured, but they were facing spending the night in the wilderness till the Rangers showed up in their off-road vehicle. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management is joining the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Texas General Land Office to address coastal restoration in Texas, supporting dune and wetland systems and establishing a storm buffer to the Texas mainland. Fish and Wildlife Director Aurelia Skipwith visited John Heinz National Wildlife Refuge at Tinicum in Philadelphia this week. She visited with refuge staff, volunteers, and community members before officially reopening more of the refuge that had been temporarily closed as part of the COVID-19 response. Nearly all public lands are accessible across the country. Visitors are encouraged to get outdoors and recreate responsibly. And our social media picture of the week, a herd of American bison roaming inside Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. Once numbering in the tens of millions, bison were reduced to near extinction level by the end of the 19th century. Thanks to conservation efforts, the number of bison today is estimated at more than 500,000. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. That's This Week at Interior.